Hello guys, welcome to Help for Code e-learning. My name is Prasanja and today we have a very special trainer, Mr. Abhijit sir. So he has very core skills area like leadership management, time management, team building, soft skill, communication skills. So he has a very good core skills and he has given a lot of trainings in many organizations. So sir, can you tell me about please about your training that you have done?
See, I have been training since past 12 years now, and I'm mostly into behavioral training and I'm also into recruitment trainings. So we conduct trainings for organizations for MNCs, like in Nagpur I have conducted trainings for Tata Aeronautics Limited. We have an annual training contract for the employees of Tata Aeronautics Limited. I have also done trainings for Medcash Health Tech Private Limited, Mercedes Singapore, and there are several other companies for which we train their employees. Apart from this, I also engage into training students to get placed in the companies. So we train students into general aptitude, we train them for spoken English and personality development and confidence building, and how to clear your personal interview, how to write your resume, and how to clear your group discussions, and so on and on.
Thank you very much. So guys, today this session will be a very good session because you will get a lot of answers that you face during interviews, that what the questions that HR will ask you and how to respond those questions. So sir, as you said that you also provide a training to students, and as per that training they get recruited for the different companies. Okay, so I want to ask that about GDPI and resume writing, because these are the today's very common and very important rounds in a company.
Correct.
So what is the importance of this GDPI and resume writing exactly?
Well, you see, from the students' perspective, I would like to say that obviously the students they find GD, resume, and personal interview important because these are the rounds which are conducted by MNCs. So once they clear these rounds, they get selected. So if a student wishes to get selected in the company, GD, PI, and resume, all three are important rounds, right?
Right.
The very first round which is conducted by companies in the recruitment process is the aptitude round, wherein the general aptitude and the technical aptitude of students is checked. Once the students they clear first round, the second round usually is of group discussion, irrespective of whether the student is from electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, or software engineering, or even a student who is from plain science background, say from BSc or even from BCom. These students also go through these rounds. So a student has to clear group discussion round. Once he clears group discussion round, the next round is personal interview or technical interview round, and in the interview round he has to apply with the help of a resume. So I suppose that is what explains the importance of GDPI and resume.
Right. Yes, true. So the question is that this question you can consider on behalf of students. I'm asking this question: how to speak in GD, and how to speak in the sense in what manner? Is there any key points that students should have to follow? Because so many times I saw that students may get confused when they get a topic,
right,
and how to speak, because sometimes they forget that this is a GD. They start like a debate.
Yeah, right. I'll take some time to answer that question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You see, we will talk about two different types of students here. There are few students who are really good in communication, their English is very good, and there are few other students who are very weak in communication. By communication I mean that their English is not very good. Let us talk about both the students and how they can score well.
Right.
So with students who are good in English, usually what happens is, like you said, the GD gets converted into debate, because they want to prove their point so much into the group discussion that unfortunately it gets converted into a debate.
Right.
The students, especially those students whose communication is really good, they should understand that the fundamental difference between GD and debate is that group discussion is a discussion. Okay.
Right.
Like in a debate, you have to take a side and you have to fight for that particular side. That is not the case in group discussion. In group discussion, it is a constructive discussion wherein you have to be very friendly with all the people. You don't have to fight with anyone. Rather, you have to involve all the people along with whom you are discussing, and towards the end of the discussion we summarize the discussion and we try to come up with some appropriate conclusion, which does not happen in a debate. A debate is more about fighting and proving your point against the point of your opponents. So usually with students whose communication is really good, they should ensure that they are not forcing their points onto others. Confidence is really good. Confidence matters a lot, but your confidence should not overpower other students. By that I mean that you shouldn't be so confident that because of your confidence you are hurting somebody else. That should not happen in a group discussion. This is a common tip for students with good communication skills.
Right.
Now let us talk about the students who say that, sir, my English is really weak, and that is the reason we cannot do well in group discussion.
Right.
Well, we need to understand something over here. Let us try to understand the setting of a group discussion. Generally, offline group discussions are conducted for, say, each group discussion is usually conducted for 10 minutes. Let me be very clear about it with a disclaimer that there is no such standard setting. However, this is how usually group discussions are conducted by most of the MNCs, like be it TCS, be it Wipro, or be it L&T Infotech. These companies, when they conduct group discussions, it is usually a 10 minutes group discussion wherein 10 students will participate.
Okay.
So, and they will be sitting in a circular arrangement mostly. In some cases, they will be sitting in a semi-circular arrangement as well.
Right.
So if they are sitting in a circular arrangement, the HR is also usually sitting with them in a circle. And if it is in a semicircular arrangement, then usually the HR will face the group and the group will discuss amongst themselves. That is how it goes.
Okay.
So you see, we need to understand over here that if 10 students are participating, okay, and 10 minutes are availed for the students to discuss, at least 1 minute is taken to initiate the discussion and at least 1 minute is taken to conclude the discussion. So we can say that 8 minutes are distributed amongst 10 students.
Okay.
So when 8 minutes are distributed amongst 10 students, we need to understand that like I said, GD is a constructive discussion and therefore everyone has to get an opportunity to speak. So students should understand that they don't have to speak during the entire group discussion. The opportunity to speak may not last for more than 1 to 1.5 minutes. If you will speak for more than 1.5 or 2 minutes in a group discussion, it essentially means that you are killing time of rather than saying killing time, you are utilizing time which otherwise some other candidate would have utilized. So for those students, when we say that their English is not good, they should understand that they have to speak for only for 1 to 1.5 minutes during the entire group discussion to get selected. So there is nothing to worry about. Even if your English is weak, you can learn few sentences, you can focus on those sentences, some common sentences which you can use in any of the group discussions.
Right.
And once you master them, you can very easily clear the group discussion.
Obviously. Right. And so in online right now, every company are taking us so many interviews in online. So what are the tips and what are the guidelines students should what are the steps students should take care about it? Because in online, at the time of online, I saw many times they have written something on front of their behind of their
Right.
laptop and something.
Right.
Most of the students get rejected by this kind of behavior also.
Yes. That is a very important question, sir. Thank you. I would congratulate you for including that question, because I have seen that most of the people, there is not a lot of material that is available for online interviews. Now you see, irrespective of whichever the platform, whether it is Google, the first thing is that the student should be good in online meeting etiquettes. He should, the student should understand as to in what particular manner he should participate in any of the online meetings. I would like to come up with an example. I cannot name the company here. However, I have seen that one of my friends, he was interviewing students for the software industry, and this is in one of the MNCs. Like I said, I cannot name the company or the person.
Right.
He said that Abhijit, today I am very happy. I asked what happened. He said the very first candidate whom I interviewed today, the very moment the interview started, this candidate, he was asking him some question about syntax.
Right.
And the very moment the question was asked, he said, the candidate asked me, sir, is it okay if I share my screen? And he was so happy. He said, Abhijit, usually during the interviews, the students are so much stressed that forget about sharing the screen. They don't even think about it. And they don't even ask about it. They will just try to keep answering the question, try to answer the question. They are usually not able to answer the question. Something like that happens, or even if they are able to answer without sharing the screen, it gets difficult. So wherever necessary, you can always share your screen, right? So he said that this candidate, he first asked whether he can share his screen. Once permitted, he even asked, he confirmed whether the screen is now visible or not,
Right.
whether I am also visible along with the screen. These are the things that he confirmed.
Yeah,
And later on, he started typing. He opened the notepad and he started typing, and then he explained whatever he had to explain for that particular question. So this is something, and on top of that, he knew that after this has happened, he knew that he has to stop sharing the screen also.
Obviously.
So he was sure about that as well. So this is something, now it was a technical interview. This is not something which is related to your technical skills directly, but then this is something which is related to your presence of mind, to your presentation skills, the way
Obviously.
you communicate. So in online meeting, these are the things, this is particularly a thing which I would suggest the students, that wherever necessary, please do share your screen. Make sure that you are properly visible. Make sure that at the beginning of the meeting you just confirm with the HR whether you are audible or not, whether the HR can see you or not. And like you said, Prashant sir, that it is very important that the students during the interview, they should not copy anything from anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, don't try to use your use your laptop,
Obviously.
or if not laptops, sometimes it happens that the students, they have something behind their laptop, so they are appearing for the interview from the laptop and somebody is guiding them from behind them. The HR people are really smart, and
they're having a good experience about it.
yes.
Obviously.
So even when there is a slight doubt, even if there is a slight doubt, they will just reject the candidate
Obviously.
in a situation.
Even they, before starting an interview, they already give a guidelines about it, what they have to follow.
Right.
One more question is that is related to GD, especially for a GD. Why the company take a GD, for a selection point of view or for a rejection point of view?
That is a very good question. Thank you so much, sir. See, the basic difference between these two rounds, GD round and interview round, is GD is a rejection process, we say, and interview is a selection process. Now let us understand the difference. When there are so many students that are to be I won't say interviewed, but who are to be considered for the job. So that is the time the company comes up with filters, because it is practically impossible for each individual HR to give time to every individual student.
Right.
So the first filter which they apply is the aptitude test, wherein they will conduct general aptitude and technical aptitude, like I said. The second filter which is usually applied is the group discussion round. So group discussion round is not a selection process. By that what I mean is, they are not finding out the best of the students in group discussion round. They are only trying to reject those students who are not really capable of getting selected in the interview round. So GD is essentially a rejection process. Most of the students, they should be able to clear GD, because like I said, that GD is a rejection process. So the company is not selecting the best candidates from the group discussion. The next round, which is either technical interview round or personal interview round, these are the selection processes. By that what we mean is, when they know that the students, that the best of the best students, they have cleared most of the rounds and now they are appearing for their interview. So amongst these students, they will decide which particular student they want to select over here, and therefore we say that it is a selection process.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sir, you have given a lot of points on JDP and resume writing. That's very good, sir. I want to know that what's your way to teach a GDP and resume, how to write a resume at the fresher level?
Right. 3 different points, sir.
Yeah, 3 different points, obviously.
You see, the first thing that I believe in is, because I am a behavioral trainer, I believe in experiential learning. What I mean by experiential learning is, the students, they should go through the actual experience. So rather than telling the students about do's and don'ts of GD and PI and things like that, we ensure that the students, they go through that experience first. The difference is, for example, if suppose we say that if suppose you have to learn how to play cricket, you generally don't tell you will generally not tell the candidate that this is how you have to hold the bat, this is how you have to hold the ball, and this is how you have to ball. There is no theory involved in it. You go in the ground, you hold the bat, you start playing cricket, and once you start playing, later on, of course, there can be the guidance can be provided.
Obviously.
So that is the approach which I follow during group discussion and personal interview as well. So what usually we do is, we will invite the people from companies like managers from, say, Tata Aeronautics Limited, and say team leads from companies like MasterCard, and say Asia Pacific manager of Tata LXI, like people who are into a habit of interviewing students. So we call these people as experts. We conduct mock group discussions, we conduct mock interviews for the students, and then we provide them individual feedback. Once individual feedback is provided, we are also able to identify their strengths, their weaknesses. So we help them understand that these are your strengths, this is what you should utilize while participating in group discussions, or these are the points on which you should focus when you will be appearing for your personal interviews, right? And these are your weaknesses. So, rather than using the word weaknesses, we use the word area of improvement. So these are your areas of improvement wherein you should improve, and then we provide them guidance accordingly. So this is about GD and PI. And you also asked about resume writing.
Right.
Well, these days I have seen that the students, they are copying formats of resume from
Yeah.
different websites. There are many people, there are many students who are doing that.
Yeah.
I will suggest that what the approach that we adopt is, like I said, we first help the students through experiential learning. We help the students identify their strengths, their weaknesses, and once the students, they are aware of their strengths and weaknesses, with the help of that we help them understand that how to highlight your strengths on your resume. And that is how then later stages wherein we try and understand as to what is important for the company. So one is what are our strengths, another is what is important for the company. Keeping these two perspectives in mind, we ensure that all the things are first listed, and on the basis of whatever content is listed, we decide which particular how to design or how to format that particular resume. So I would say that the students, they learn resume writing in a very individualistic and customized manner. That is how we conduct resume writing for the
Right.
students.
Most of the time I saw that they don't understand the meaning of resume. They don't know that on behalf of him, resume represent them.
Right,
So
right,
what the
right.
quality we should represent over there.
Yes, something very important, because you see, if your resume is neat, then it shows. A number of times I have seen that the students are very casual about resume writing. Try to understand, this is for the students. Try to understand that resume writing is really, really important. Also, try to understand that the HR people are aware that you get the opportunity to write your resume far before you are appearing for the interview. Okay, so you get enough time to prepare that document. So there are few things which are checked from the HR's perspective.
Right.
First is, if your resume is neat, that shows that the candidate is neat, right? If your resume is well organized, then that shows that this candidate understands as to how to organize the data. These days the whole world is about data science.
Right.
And all, right? So it is very important that the candidate has a clear understanding as to how to organize his resume, because if his resume is well organized, that shows that he understands how to organize data. Another thing is, sometimes the students, they will make some silly mistakes in resume, like some spelling mistakes, some editing mistakes, formatting mistakes.
Right.
This should not happen. Why? Because if your resume has errors, then it shows that you are not attentive while writing the resume. And most of the companies, they operate above Six Sigma level. So by above Six Sigma level, we mean that the accuracy which the companies, they maintain is above 99.9999%, right? So errors is something that the companies cannot digest, right? That too in your resume, a document that is going to represent you.
Right.
So, and if you have an error-free resume, that shows that this candidate has the ability or attention to detail is
Yeah,
something
obviously.
That is really important for the companies, which can be.
Obviously, if someone committing a mistake on their document, that's meant while if the company will select them, then obviously at the time of working, they can also do these kind of things.
Right. So these are, I must say that these are the most important points. Apart from that, one additional point I would like to add: if your resume is professional, if it has a professional format, then it shows that that this candidate has put in some sincere effort. And whenever he will be hired in the company, again, if provided with enough time, he has the ability to gather enough content, and he has the ability to organize it in proper manner, and he will put in sincere effort and come up with some professional content like he has done with his resume as well. So these are the things which are, this is the first impression that goes to the HR even before the candidate approaches the HR. The resume of the candidate goes into the hands of the HR, right? So this is the first impression which a candidate can create with the help of resume.
Obviously, that's true. And most important factor which is happen in interview, that is your communication.
Right.
And most of the time that they know that their communication are weak, but instead of that, they are also not work on that. Exactly, they don't know how to work on it. So can you
Right.
give it any practical tips that students should follow to improve their communication skill?
Right. Well, you see, communication as such, Prashant sir, communication is a very vast subject, you know. And to tell as to how to improve communication, I would like to say this, that we keep conducting sessions in MNCs also. Like I mentioned, we have conducted sessions in Tata Aeronautics Limited, we have conducted sessions in Medcash, and there were many sessions on communication as well. So we conduct sessions for communication for the employees who are already hired by the company as well.
Okay.
So, like I said, communication is a vast topic, and the area of improvement is also, you know, really equally vast. However, from the students' perspective, for fresher students who are going to appear for the interviews, I would say that there are few areas, basic areas, which the student has to master. The very first area is English. You know, I have seen that most of the students who say that they are weak in communication, they are either, they either cannot speak in English, or they are not confident while speaking in English. Now, try to understand, students, even if you are not confident while speaking in English, that means that your English is weak. Okay, so you have to work on your English. That is one thing that needs to be done. Apart from that, they should work a little bit on their confidence. In addition to this, for some students, in case if their English is really good, they should work a little bit on their attitude. Students, they need to be very, very polite in their attitude, you know. So while communicating, if you are polite in your attitude, that is something which is missing amongst the students these days. So that is something that they should include. And in addition to that, I would say they can work a little bit on the body language. Okay, I will give you an example. For example, let us say the students, they are into a habit of pointing fingers. You know, they will say he has done it. So rather than pointing the finger, you can say, well, you see, you will feel this. You know, just feel my finger. You have done this. So when we say you, this is something that kind of makes you feel violated, right? Even if I am going to say a good thing for you, for example, if I say he is a good boy, but you see, this finger won't make you feel good, right? So rather than using a finger, you can simply use your palm, and it has to be an open palm. This is like the palm facing downwards. This is not correct. It can be an open palm, and you can say he has done this. Now you say it is everything else is same, okay, but because of this palm, that difference has been made. So with few tips in body language, which of course, like, we cannot include in one interview.
No, that's not possible. I have also seen that many times. If interviewer asks the question, where do you live? Sir, I live in XYZ area. So this is the body language which really which is not acceptable. Obviously, that's the most common question, which is also asked by many interviewers, even a professional companies also. That is a tell me about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Yes.
And this is a very good question, because most of the time I saw that students, many candidates doesn't know that how to give an answer exactly, and how should long.
That is how long it should last. Yes. I really appreciate the way you asked that question, sir. Like, for how long should a person should answer that question? Well, you see, like you mentioned, self-introduction is one of the most important questions, and it is the most important question because this is the very first question, usually the very first question that the candidate faces. So this question, while answering this question has the ability to decide the direction of the interview. Okay, I'll come to that slowly. Let us understand mostly what students do. Mostly the students, they will include some very common points. Okay, so the first point is name. They will tell their name. Then some students, they may include their aim in addition to their name, but mostly the students, they will include their name and then aim, and then they will talk about their family background, they will talk about their hobbies and interests, and in some cases the students, they will talk about their education as well. For example, I am pursuing final year of engineering from so and so college in so and so branch. I would want the students to understand here that this information, friends, is a very common information. Okay, now think from the point of view of the HR. If the HR has to select you, is he going to select the students because of his because of his family background? No. Is he going to select the student because of his hobbies and interests? In exceptional cases, if the hobby and interest is of coding or something like that, maybe yes, but generally no. Then what is it because of which the HR is going to select? So I suggest that apart from these points, the students can focus on few other points, like they can talk about their project, they can also talk about their internship, because experience is the most important thing from the point of view of the company, and a direct substitute of work experience is project experience. A direct substitute of work experience is internship experience. That is the reason, students, I would say that you should focus a lot on your project experience and your internship experience, and you should include points related to your project experience and internship experience in your self-introduction. You can also include positions of responsibility. Sir, positions of responsibility is also very important. For example, some students, they are members in their departmental forum. Some students, they are president of the forum, secretary, treasurers of the forum. Some students, they have actively volunteered for so many events which take place in the colleges. You should include this information that you have volunteered for these particular events. And in addition to that, some students, they go out and they work for some NGOs also. They take that initiative. This is very, very important information which the students should include in their self introduction. Apart from this, I will take some time to answer that question, if that is
Obviously,
okay for you.
obviously. Not an issue.
You see, apart from this is the information which will be important for the HR. Now try to understand something over here. Make sure, like when I tell students, I say make sure students that you include your achievements as well. What can be your achievement? The achievement can be as little as I have secured first position in coding competition, or maybe I have secured I was the topper of second semester. Even if you have topped only from your class, not from the entire university, that can be included. That is really, really important, because this showcases about your attitude. Okay, this shows that this person has the habit of staying ahead in the competition. So tomorrow, if we will select this candidate in our college, in our company, then in the company also, in the competition, he will try to do good and he will try to stay up in the competition, which means he is progressive in nature. So this is very, very important information which the students should include. From the point of view of HR, I cannot name the companies, of course, but I have listened to all India recruitment heads of some top recruiting companies of India. And when these HRs, they were sharing information, they said that the students should include information in their self-introduction which is not written in the resume, because they say that whatever is written in the resume we have already read.
Right.
So because we have already read that information, you should not include it again.
Yeah.
Tell us something new about yourself, something which is not mentioned in the resume. So that is another point on which the students can focus. Like I said, this is the question which decides the direction of your interview. Why I say this is because once the student answers, or once the student introduces himself, if he is including points which are really, really important for the company, then there is a high chance that further questions will be asked by the HR from this information. Let us take an example. If suppose the company is hiring for say business analysts, okay, and they are working on a project wherein the Python skills are really, really important. So if the student in his self-introduction, if he includes that, sir, in my project I have in this particular project I have used Python as my coding language, and I have acquired these many skills on Python, and my communication is, I am good in communication as well. So this is something which is really important for the HR, and then there is a higher probability that the HR will ask further questions from this information as well, because you would want to know ki Python mein what are all the things that you have learned,
Right.
because that is the area in which he wants you to work.
What are the projects they have done?
What are the projects that they have done, and what was this candidate's role in that particular project? Questions like that. So indirectly, the students, you get an opportunity to control where the interview is going. You get an opportunity to decide the direction of the interview, because if you are sharing some information and if further questions are asked from that particular information, then there is a higher probability that you will be able to answer these questions easily, because you would have already prepared for those questions. So
obviously, really.
So this is how. And the other question that you asked, I really appreciate that. How long should a student answer self-introduction? Sir, I must say that you have that ability to attend to the minute details of things, because very few people think in this direction. Well, you see, generally we say that the student should answer for minimum 30 to 40 seconds, okay, at least for 30 to 40 seconds, because if your self-introduction starts and it ends before 30 seconds, it feels as if the candidate has not even introduced himself. And for maximum, we say that it should go on for say 60 seconds. 60 seconds is we say 60 seconds because the listening span of an average individual is of 60 seconds.
Right.
So that is the reason, if a candidate will keep on introducing himself for more than 60 seconds, then you may lose the attention of the HR. At the same time, the HR may also feel that he is talking a lot. So the information has to be concise, precise, in minimum words, maximum information has to be covered. Make sure that the words that you are using are very very simple. Using high-fi words is not important in the interview. What is important is that you include simple words so that everyone can understand them easy. Your introduction should be easy to understand. So these are the points on which a candidate
Obviously, it is very important that you should maintain and you should know that what question the interviewer has asked you, because most of the time I saw that there will happen some miscommunication. Most of the times students doesn't hear or doesn't listen the questions perfectly, that what the question he or she has asked.
That is correct.
And they start by themselves what they know. So this is exactly wrong. First of all, listen the question, what the questions they ask, and how to respond it very you can say that very calmly, so that let's listen first of all and then decide what you have to say, and let's say in a very simple words, because interview is like a conversation. It is a very simple that it is a conversation. Whatever the questions they have asked, if you know, let's give the answer. So
yes,
that is very
that is very correct. That is an important point which I missed when you asked how to improve communication, and you just now covered it. So students focus on your listening skills as well, like Prashant sir said. Listening is equally important when you are communicating. So
related to this question, the next question I want to ask, which is also very important, most of the time this question get a lot of students, that is where you want to see yourself after 3 to 4 years.
Oh yes. Now you see, the company, when it will hire candidates,
I want to just include one thing related to this question, which is what is the reason behind of asking this question. What the company wants to know.
Yes, I was about to mention that. You see, whenever they are asking this question, whenever the company is hiring students, they want to be sure that this student will stay with us for at least next 3 to 5 years. Okay, because if the company is investing on your trainings, once you are going to be a part of the company would really want that this candidate should stay with us at least for 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So when they ask where do you see yourself 3 years or 5 years down the line, they just want to make sure whether your plans are in tune with the plans of the company, so that once you will be hired by the company, whether you will stay with this company for long or not. The most what can I say, the blunders that are created by the students while answering these questions is, I have heard that some students they get rejected because they say that I wish to appear for GATE examination after 2 years and then do a government job. It is obvious that the HR will not allow you to join the company. If you are going to say that, sir, I want to take experience for 2 years and then I want to do my MBA, then it is obvious the HR will think of some other candidate who will stay with the company for long. So make sure that whatever plans you are going to share, they are in tune with what the company thinks. There are few things which students should consider while answering this question. One of which is they can think as to whether their expectations are realistic or unrealistic. Sometimes the students these days, sir, they have very high expectations, and the students, they say, sir, in 3 years I wish to become the team lead of the company. Now in most of the MNCs, if we talk about companies like TCS, Wipro and L&T Infotech and Infosys, these companies, you see that there are so many employees who are already doing job in these companies, and there are many seniors also. So in 3 years usually nobody gets an opportunity to become a team lead immediately. Of course, you get some promotions, but team lead is quite a higher designation. So you need to be realistic about your expectations, so that the HR feels that yes, after 3 years this candidate won't feel frustrated कि I did not get a chance to become a team leader, that is the reason I am leaving the company. So your expectations should be realistic. That is one thing. Apart from that, like I said, your whatever answers the students are giving, those answers should be in tune with the fact that yes, I will stay with this company for at least 3 to 5 years. That is how
that should be realistic.
Yes.
If you want to see that you will be within 3 years you will become a team leader, so you should be a hardworking, not only hardworking required, you should get a number of projects, you have to done a number of projects, you should have a leading quality, your communication should be good,
right.
You should know that how to represent your team and how to solve the issues, because most of the time I saw that many candidates mention that they have a problem solving capability, but they don't know how to solve the question exactly, because in a situation can be a different, obviously. So next question is also related to this question, sir. Many times I ask this question, why should I hire you?
Oh yes. Well, you see, this question is indirectly asked. I would say that this is not a direct question, and it's a tricky question. Why I say it's a tricky question is because the direct question would be, what are your strengths? Okay. So if somebody is asking you, why should I hire you? Maybe you can tell your strengths. For example, a student can say that, sir, my C is like, I can code really well in C, C++, and Python, and that is the reason, I can be hired. The student can as well say that, sir, I have project experience in Python, and Python is required. You have mentioned that knowledge of Python is required. I have knowledge of Python, and apart from that, my communication is also good. That is the reason I can be hired. Okay. So indirectly, in a way, what the student is doing is he is speaking about his skills, and then he is saying that because I have these skills, or these are my strengths, so because I have these strengths, that is the reason you should hire me. Sometimes it may happen the HR will push the candidate and he will say, then why only you? There are so many students who are in queue who are really good in Python,
Yeah.
right? And they also have equally good communication.
Right.
Then why you? So at such times, you can the students can come up with some additional skill sets, or they can mention some additional strengths that they have, but never ever compare yourself with other candidates. That is a general advice which I give to the students, because it is practically impossible for the students to know which other students, like who all are appearing for the interview, and it is also practically impossible for the students to actually compare each of them and understand where do they stand in the competition. That is actually the job of the HR, so we leave it to him, and we do not compare ourselves with others. That is a tip.
that is only the tips,
Yeah.
obviously, which is very important for students. Another question is that they get a question that, what's your strength?
Right.
Yeah, so how to give an answer of that? Because first of all, the question is that the student doesn't know that what is their strength exactly.
What is their actual strength?
Actual strength.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
They give a strength in that I have a good coding speed, so this is strength.
Right.
So
Well, you see, sir, I will take some time again to answer that question, because
Obviously.
you see, strengths, usually when we will ask the students what are your strengths, I have heard some common answers. Sir, I am hardworking, I am punctual, I can manage time, okay, and some typical answers that they have. So I say that, you see, whenever you have to talk about your strengths, essentially you are talking about qualities. Now let us understand that whatever qualities human beings have, they are divided into three categories. Like as a behavioral trainer, I divide these qualities into three categories, sir.
right.
The first category is, we say the first category is your attitude. By attitude we mean anything that relates to our behavior, the way I behave and the way I respond and react to things. That is my attitude. Okay. So whatever qualities an individual has, one of the categories of attitude. Another category is of skill set. So what is a skill set? Skill set is something which you can go and learn from someone. For example, coding, C, C++, Python, English, Hindi, or any of the other languages, or not just languages, anything which I can go and learn from someone is called as a skill. And the third category into which these qualities can be divided is a trait. Trait is something which is gifted by God. For example, our color, our height, these are the things which is gifted by God, right? So these are very difficult for us to control and change. Now usually the students, when they will usually answer in the form of attitude. They will answer the strengths in the form of attitude. For example, they will say hardworking. What is hardworking? Hardworking is your attitude, right? It is the way you behave, right? Punctual is what? Punctual is again related to your habits. It is your attitude, right? So mostly the strengths that students mention, they are related to attitude. Now the problem with attitude related strengths is that I am not saying no, attitude related strengths are really important, okay, but try to understand the problem with attitude related strengths is that they are very difficult to prove, because during the interview what can happen is, suppose you are the HR, you ask me, Abhijit, what are your strengths, and I say, sir, I am hardworking. Now you say, no, you are not hardworking. So how do I prove that I am hardworking?
How can you prove it?
Right, it is really difficult. If suppose I say, sir, I am punctual, you will say, no, Abhijit, you are not punctual. So again, it is really difficult to prove, right?
Right.
However, skill related strengths are very easy to prove. Let us take an example. If suppose you say, Abhijit, what are your strengths? I say, sir, I am good at coding in Python. And you say, okay, Abhijit, this is the problem. Okay, you can code for this particular question, and once I solve the puzzle, then automatically you can judge as to whether I am good in that particular skill set or not. So that is why I say attitude related strengths are really difficult to prove, whereas skill related strengths are very easy to prove. That is the first point. Another point is attitude related strengths are very easy to lie. For example, I may not be hardworking and I may be saying, okay, I am hardworking, I may not be punctual, I will say I am punctual.
Right.
Okay. But skill related strengths are very difficult to lie. Because if I am going to say that I am good in Python or I can code very well in C, C++, then it is not so easy, because you are going to ask me a question immediately and my skill will be judged immediately, right? So if I am not good at it, you can just simply tell immediately whether I am good at it or not. So they are difficult to lie. Skill related strengths are difficult to lie. Another very important point is attitude related strengths is an eligibility, sir. By that what I mean is, tell me, if tomorrow you have to hire a candidate for your company, will you hire someone who is not hardworking? Obviously not, right? You will hire a candidate who is hardworking. Will you hire someone who is not punctual? No, you will hire a candidate who is punctual, right? So attitude related strengths is essentially an eligibility. This is the very basic eligibility which all the companies they want. When the HR is asking you what are your strengths, he wishes some answer which will help you distinguish from other students, from other candidates. So you can simply say that, you can come up with a skill related strength. You can say that my C is good, my C++ is good. You can say I'm good at coding in Python. You can say that, sir, in my project I have done so much of work, I have actual exposure of project. Unfortunately these days the students, they copy their projects. This should not be done. They should actually go and learn, right? So when they should actually go and learn and they should actually get exposure, they should actually work with the client. So when they do this, they can include, why should I hire you, or what are your strengths? Sir, my strength is that I have actually worked with so and so client and I have experience now. I understand how to understand the demands of client, how to attend the client, how to respond and react to the clients. So these are the things, this is the actual skill set, right? So I suggest students that you should include skill related strengths rather than including attitude related strengths, because 3 points which I would like to once again revise. The first is attitude related strength is very very difficult to prove, whereas skill related strength is very very easy to prove. Attitude related strength is you can very easily lie about an attitude related strength, whereas you cannot lie very easily about skill related strength. And third, equally important point is that, like I mentioned, that attitude related strengths are a basic eligibility, whereas skill related strength is something which helps you distinguish yourself from the other candidates who are also appearing for the interview. If we wish to go further ahead, I would also like to include that skill related strengths are always complemented with some attitude with some attitude related strength. For example, if suppose a student says that he is hardworking, okay, because you are hardworking, that is the reason you must have learned so many skills then,
right?
So what are the additional skills apart from your regular curriculum that you have acquired? So the student may say that, sir, Java was not included in our curriculum, but now I can code in Java. Why? Because I am hardworking. So along with my regular curriculum, I have completed this course on Java and I have completed this project on Java and I can do so and so work on Java. So this is how skill related strengths are always complemented by attitude related strengths.
Right. This is very informative for students, right? Next question is that is completely opposite of my previous question. That is, what's your weakness?
Oh yes, this is again a very tricky question which is asked in the interviews. Let us try to understand first as to why this question is asked. You see, the people, when they are selected, the HR people, they want to select progressive candidates, so that once they are selected, after they are selected also they will keep on improving. Okay, so while selecting the candidates, they will ask this question, what are your weaknesses, and they want to identify a few things. The first thing is whether this candidate has actually worked or not, because the only candidate who can actually identify his weakness and who can actually tell his weakness is a candidate who has actually worked on a project or who has actually worked in his internship. Only then this candidate will be able to identify his weakness. So the first thing that they want to check is whether this candidate has actually worked at some place. Another thing which they want to know is whether he can identify his weakness. Okay, so the second thing which is important is whether he can identify his weakness. Third thing which is important is what is he doing to overcome his weakness. Okay, so there are several things which they want to know. One is whether a candidate has worked onto a particular thing, whether he can identify his weakness, whether this candidate can accept his weakness. That is also equally important. Now, as to how to answer this question, there are different ways of answering this question.
Right.
The very first tip is, guys, be honest. Please don't be dishonest. Be honest while answering this question. And when we say be honest, don't just share your weakness. Along with, while sharing your weakness, also share how you discovered this weakness.
Right.
We can take up an example. For example, I may say that, sir, during my project experience, I understood that I am really, interested whenever there is some practical task that has to be executed. However, the very moment I get some theoretical task, for example, making an Excel sheet or recording things in file or maintaining a file or anything like that, I don't feel that enthusiastic or that energetic, and because of which, I am not able to meet the deadlines when it comes to theoretical work. Now, this can be a weakness. And it is not a potential weakness, so it can be shared as well. I will talk about that also. However, also mention that what are you doing to overcome this particular weakness. For example, you can say, sir, nowadays whenever I get some theoretical task, I make sure that I set a deadline, and I ensure that the deadline is met. This is what I am doing to ensure that I overcome this particular weakness. So be honest, share your weakness, share how you discovered this weakness, and also share what you are doing to overcome this particular weakness.
Right.
This is how this is the approach to answer what are your weaknesses. Another way of answering what are your weaknesses is be irrelevant. Okay. Now, this is possible when the interview is going on really well, and the interview is kind of a casual interview wherein the interviewer is smiling and you are also smiling, and there is some casual discussion, and during that discussion all of a sudden the question comes, what are your weaknesses? Either a direct question or maybe an indirect question as well. So at that time the candidate can come up with some irrelevant weaknesses. For example, boys can say the cricket is my weakness or soccer is my weakness. Now what are they going to do about cricket and soccer?
Right.
So this is very irrelevant for the company. Girls, they can say in summers ice creams, in winters chocolates, something like that, right? So they can share this irrelevant weakness provided that the interview is going on, like I said, in a casual manner. Okay. Otherwise, this is not advised.
Right.
There is third way of answering what are your weaknesses, and that is where we say convert your weakness into a strength of the company. So it's something which is a weakness for us, but it is a strength for the company. A very common example is that, sir, I am workaholic. So when a candidate says that he is workaholic, it means that he needs work all the time. Without work, he or she cannot live. So companies, they want people like that. Whereas for the candidates, it is a weakness, because if you don't get enough work, then you feel restless. So for the candidates, it is a weakness. So 3 different ways of answering. One is be honest. Make sure that you share your actual weakness. You also share how you discovered that weakness, and also share what you are doing to overcome that particular weakness. Second way of answering is being irrelevant, like we said, cricket and soccer and ice creams and chocolates. Third way of answering is the way we discussed, your weakness, but it is a strength for the company. The example was that of being workaholic. An additional tip, never share your potential weakness. By potential weakness, I mean never ever say that, sir, I cannot speak in English, my English is very weak, I am very low in confidence, I am not confident at all. So a potential weakness which will help you get rejected immediately, wherein the HR will say, thank you very much for saving my time. Right. Good that you told me. So try not to share potential weakness, because that can help you get rejected. So
Right. It's true. Very important for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So next question is, sir, that is, why do you want to join our company? Which is a most common question.
Yes. The way I would answer this question would be a bit different. If that is okay with you.
Obviously, see, every question needs some different way, needs some different we can say that example to deliberate about that, what you are exactly saying about that. Obviously.
Now there is I would say there is some humor involved in this example. You see, I generally say this to students. I ask them that if suppose tomorrow you are getting married, so while getting married you are going to see, a guy is going to, at least let's not say interview, he is going to meet or date few girls, or the girls are going to date few guys, right? Suppose you come across a girl who says that I am ready to get married to any of the guys. It doesn't matter to me what kind of guy you are. Will any guy marry this girl? No, obviously not. Right? Similarly, if you come across if the girl comes across a guy who says that मुझे कोई भी लड़की शादी के लिए चलती है, I don't want to see anyone. So this should not happen when the candidates are applying for the interview as well.
Right.
मुझे कोई भी company चलती है, any company is okay for me. Whichever company is offering me a job, I will do a job over there.
Obviously.
This attitude does not sound good. So when the company people, when they ask why do you want to join our company, we should have few points. The only thing which they want to know is whether you have done some research, because 8 to 10 hours of your day minimum you are going to spend in the company, right? So wherever you are going to spend 8 to 10 hours of your day, something which is going to decide the direction of your career, whether you have given enough time to that particular thing is what the company HR wants to know. So they will always want to understand from you, as to whether you have done some research of the company. So you can include some few details. For example, you can say that, sir, I wish to join your company because you are working in the consultant area, you are an IT consultant and I really like that. Or you can say that you are also into IT services and we really like that. Or you can say you are also into IT products and we like that. Or you can simply say that you work in all the areas, services, this. The student can say that your presence is global, you are present all over the world, and you have progressed along with time. For example, your revenue in the year say 2018 was so and so, in 19 it was so and so, in 2020 it was so and so. So over the years your revenue has increased in so and so manner, and that is the reason you are very progressive, and that is the reason I wish to join you. So some research of the company is really important. I have already mentioned few areas, like I mentioned the area in which the company is offering services. I have mentioned revenue. You can also include some other points, like you should know who are the key persons of the company, like the CEO of the company, managing director of the company, who are these people. So such things the candidates should research about such things, and whenever the question is asked as to why do you want to join our company, you can mention few such details. And
obviously it is very important and it is really very informative. So the basic question and the basic thing is that if you are preparing for a company, from my side, because this is the last question, so if you are preparing for a company, you should know that for which company you are preparing, and what are the requirements they have. Is that company service based or product based? For what position you want to be apply, and what the key skill sets you should have for according to that company. As per the technical point of view, obviously if you go for these are the mostly related to your PN, GD and HR round. But if you go for a technical round, obviously you should have a good technical knowledge, or mention those technology name which you know very well, because most of the time I saw that they mention a C, C++, Java, PHP, .NET, everything. It is not possible for a single student that they have a good knowledge and good things and even in every technology. This is not possible, maybe it will be possible, I cannot say that, but most of the time I didn't see these things in all the qualities in a single person, because in industry also it may take us some long time to be a master on that. So if you have a little bit knowledge on C and C++, but that means if you have prepared for a C and C++, let's prepare by a practical way. Let's create a project, because project create a very much sense, because until unless you did not make any project, you don't have an implementation knowledge. So you have learned everything, like you have learned Python, Java very well, but you haven't make any project on this particular technology. So it shows that you don't have a implementation knowledge. You should have a implementation knowledge. Let's create a repository on GitHub, host your project over there, because in interview room it's not possible that you will open your laptop and you will show your project. It doesn't possible. But on behalf of you, how can you show your projects? By a GitHub, this is a very good hosting platform. If you want to learn anything, you can learn from anywhere. Right now most of the companies are taking their test online, and they have their test based on the test cases. So if you want to take an experience of how to solve the problem which is based on the test cases, because in industry also you have to write a code as per the test cases basis also, you can join a HackerRank. Over there you will get a real-time example, real-time experience also, that how can you write a code, and how can you write a code as per the test cases also. So which is very important, and let's have a habit to be informative. That means during an interview you should take an example, give an example. Examples helps you to we can say that means you can make your answer very valuable. And if you have gone for a technical interview. So at that moment you should be aware that when you are taking an example, if that example will be related to your technical example, then it create a more sense, because most of them are taking example, a general example. So general example is good, but if you are taking a technical example during a interview, so it shows that you have a technical knowledge also. So let us spend your time on more and more. Everything is very important. Today's the time, and the time is going now very fast. After COVID, the situation and the scenario is very different. Every company are taking their interview online. You can apply for any company from
Correct.
anywhere.
Correct,
Obviously,
correct, sir. Correct.
before COVID, what was happening exactly? If you want to apply in a Pune, in Hyderabad, you have to go over there. If there is a walk-in hour going on, right now everything is going on online. So you should know that online etiquettes. Obviously, the sir already told about that. What is the online etiquettes? How can you maintain it? And what are the precautions? What are the steps you should know about it? So this is very important. So thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you, sir, for joining us for this valuable.
Thank you so much for inviting me, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Hope this benefits our students.
Yeah, obviously it will really benefit to so many students.